Hello, welcome back to another video. Merry Christmas! I hope your December is going well so far. Today's video is going to be a recommendations video of winter and Christmas themed books. So they're not all going to be Christmassy necessarily, some of them might just be like winter for this time of year, but hopefully these are some books you might enjoy reading over December and January. I think I'm a seasonal reader because as soon as it hits December I just want all the Christmassy books ever. I just want to fully embrace the season. And then summer I feel like I'm reading more, or I'm more likely to read a contemporary. If I'm going to ever read a contemporary, it's going to be in the summer. And then I tend to read like the darker fantasy, dark academia in the autumn time. Don't really know what I go for spring. And January I tend to read books that are like new beginning-y type of things, or like my clever mystery type of stuff. That was such a weird order to tell you that in, but I am here with my wintry Christmas book recommendations. I have split this up, sort of, into categories. We have got category 1 is wintry books, category 2 is miscellaneous, and there's one book in that category. Actually 2 books, we can have 2 books in miscellaneous, 2 books. Category 3 is YA Christmas, category 4 is mystery Christmas, category 5 is middle grade, category 6 is contemporary Christmas. So those are the 6 different categories I'm going to be going through. I think we're going to start with contemporary Christmas. So I have got a couple of new books this year. I bought a lot of books last year that are Christmassy themed and wintry themed. Really excited to get to some of them. I haven't read all of the books that I'm going to be talking about in these videos, but I have read a fairly decent amount of them. So I hope you get some good recommendations to read over the Christmas period with this. So the first book is Gifts by Laura Barnett. At the time of filming this video, I have just started reading this book. I'm literally a chapter in, so I don't really have many thoughts yet, but I got sold to this by the tagline, 12 people, 12 gifts, 1 Christmas to remember. The reviews have all said how much this will put you in the Christmas spirit, which I absolutely love. I love it when you have stories that all intertwine and come together. The blurb doesn't really give that much away other than telling you about the people that are wanting to get these gifts and who they're wanting to buy them for, but I get the impression this is going to be a kind of the real meaning of Christmas type of book and just make me feel all kinds of festive. But I also really liked that the first person looking for a gift runs a bookshop. I mean, that's just perfect for me. I love anything that is festive. I love anything that has a bookshop in it. So I feel like this one's going to be very cute, very cozy. I really like the cover. Another new one I got this year, haven't had a chance to read this one yet, but I will definitely be getting to this in December, is Jenny Colgan's The Christmas Bookshop. I have bought previous books for Jenny Colgan without realising they were in a series, and I don't know if this one's part of that series or not. But I'm okay if it is, because I just feel like it's a fun experience to read these kind of books at Christmas, and I often don't really mind if I'm dipping into a series that I don't fully know the characters of. This, as you can guess, is set in a bookshop. This is following our main character who starts working at this bookshop and tries to help turn it around, because basically if the owner can't do this by Christmas, then they'll have to sell the bookshop. The bottom line of the blurb says, everyone is convinced it will take a miracle to save Macready's bookshop. Even Carmen, distracted by a rather handsome visitor, doesn't believe she can save the day. So it's a romance. It's gonna, I assume, have some kind of big community aspect to it of saving this bookshop. I feel like that's the direction it's gonna take. The tagline at the bottom says, but is it possible that this Christmas Carmen might surprise everyone, including herself? It's got Hallmark vibes. I'm here for it. This is the kind of thing I want to be reading around this time of year. Never at any other point in the year will you catch me reading these kind of books, because they're just not the kind of thing I normally pick up, but at Christmas I'm all for it. Okay, this next one I actually DNF'd, but I have still kept a copy of this book. I'm so sad I DNF'd it. It's so pretty and it's also really floppy. This is One Day in December by Josie Silver. Now, I'm a firm believer of everybody enjoying books for different reasons, so just because I DNF'd this, it doesn't mean that you won't enjoy it. But this is another contemporary romance. This follows 2 people who have multiple chances where they kind of come across each other in their lives to try and meet. The first of which is on a bus, I'm pretty sure. Yes, one of our characters is on a bus. It's a snowy December day. She sees a man that she knows instantly is the one. Their eyes meet through the bus windows and she basically thinks she's never going to see him again as the bus drives away. But she is determined to just forget about him, move on with her life, and the bottom line of the blurb says, what if fate had other plans? This is dubbed the #1 feel-good read of Christmas 2018. I feel like if this was a film, I would be all for it. I'm trying to remember the reason I DNF'd this. I have something to do in my head of not liking the main character and her just being mean in her narration when she was on the bus. I'm trying to drag this out. I think this is 2 years ago that I read this or tried to read it, and I think she was just observing things about people and she felt a bit like a bully to me, and I didn't really like that. However, I don't think I gave this much of a chance. I think I probably DNF'd this after a couple of chapters because I know that this isn't overly my genre, if I am going to read it, I need to know that I'm really loving what I'm reading, otherwise I just won't get on well with it. So this one wasn't for me, but it might be for you, so I thought I'd include it in the video anyway. The next book is Sophie Kinsella's Christmas Shopaholic. I read this one a few years ago and I loved it. This is part of a series. I have read a couple of books in this series when I was a teenager, but I haven't read any of them for about 10 years probably. I just think this is so much fun. You can see it playing out so well as a film in your head. We are following Becky Bloomwood in this, who is a shopaholic, as you may have guessed from the title. We meet her in the first book as she is basically having a bit of a shopping issue and is spending far too much money and has got herself into a lot of debt. And the first book is like the introduction to her romance story. This is many years on from that, where she is now. She is hosting her first family Christmas and she wants it to be perfect, and this is about that journey, and it's just good fun. It's a funny romantic comedy. I love it. It's perfect for this time of year. I'd like to reread it soon actually, because it's just a good time. It's exactly what you want to be reading at this time of year, so I would definitely highly recommend this one. I think out of the contemporary romance books I have on this video, I think this was probably my favourite. The final book on the contemporary romance list of this video is The Christmas Escape by Sarah Morgan. This one is an ARC that the publisher sent through to me, but this is out. It's been out for over a year now, so you can pick this one up if you're interested. I have read this one, but I have forgotten a little bit the details of the plot. I just remember that it's set in Lapland, so I'm just going to read you the top line of the blurb, or the top paragraph of the blurb, because it pretty much gives you the whole summary. Christy Sullivan has planned the perfect Christmas escape, a trip to Lapland with her family and best friend Alex. But facing a make-or-break marriage crisis, Christy needs time alone with her husband. Her solution? Alex can take Christy's daughter to Lapland and they will reunite there for Christmas Day. What else are friends for? This is just a very cute comfort read. I think it's just a fun romance. Okay, on to miscellaneous? Maybe let's do miscellaneous. So I have spoken about some of these books before in other Christmassy videos, by the way, but I just thought I would do a new one given that I have more Christmas books to share this year. So this one I know I've spoken about before. This is Green Christmas. This is a little tiny book of suggestions that you can use to help the planet around Christmas time. So just to give you a couple of examples. So one of the options here is propagating plants. So it tells you how to propagate plants to be able to give these as gifts. Pine cone firelighters, wrapping paper. This is such a lovely idea if you're wanting to be a bit more conscientious this year of how what you're doing Christmas affects the planet. If you want to be a bit more DIY friendly this year, this is a really nice book to be able to get you started. Also in miscellaneous, I've put The Haunting Season. This is a collection of ghost tales. On the front it says Ghost Tales for Long Winter Nights. This has quite a few different authors involved in it and it's multiple different stories. I don't think they link together at all, but I put this one in miscellaneous because I don't really know what other category to put it in. This is a really pretty edition. This is the WATERSTONES special edition paperback. I'm very excited to dive into this one. I don't often go for short stories because I want more length to get into a story. I often find it difficult to truly get into something when it is shorter, but it looks lovely and wintry and perfect for this time of year. Okay, children's books. I have two middle grade books. The first is A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. This is a really lovely, wholesome story. There is a film out of this last year it came out. I wanted to read the book before I watched the film and it's just really cute, very sweet. This follows a young boy whose dad has gone on a mission to do something that I can't remember. His dad's gone somewhere for a reason and he hasn't come back, and this boy is deciding to go after his dad and ends up discovering this magical village along the way, and this is basically the founding story for Father Christmas. It's very cute. Matt Haig is a really lovely writer. It has some really cute illustrations throughout it as well. There's a little map, for example. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear the dog barking near me. It's not stopping. There's just occasional drawings like this. It's just really lovely. This is a very sweet and wholesome middle grade. The final middle grade one is One Christmas Wish by Catherine Rundle. This is so beautiful. My friend Kat got me this for Christmas a few years ago and I just love it. This is all about some Christmas tree decorations coming to life and the adventure that they have with a young boy on Christmas Eve. I love these kind of stories. I would have adored this as a child. These illustrations are absolutely beautiful. I just love them so much. This is a completely beautiful story about the magic of Christmas time and I think it's fabulous. Okay, let's go on to the YA Christmassy books, of which I only have two. I thought I would have more than this, but apparently I don't. So This Winter by Alice Osman is first up on the list. This is a novella that I think is considered 0.5 to the Solitaire book. This follows Charlie from the Heartstopper books, Tori from the Solitaire books, and Oliver, who is their younger brother, I want to say. And this follows them as they're trying to get through their Christmas day with minimal drama. It's a very short, cute novella, and if you are a fan of either the Solitaire books all the Heartstopper books, then I think you're going to enjoy this one. I would say this one has a couple of trigger warnings. If you do want to check those out, I would look into those before picking this up. The other YA I have is Stay Another Day by Juno Dawson. I love Juno Dawson's writing so much. Juno Dawson does such a fantastic job of weaving in so many different topics into these stories, and this one is no different. The tagline on the front of this says 4 sleeps till Christmas, 3 siblings, 1 big secret. This follows one Christmas in a family home as 3 siblings are coming back together. There's a couple of different things that are being balanced in this book. One of the siblings is bringing back their boyfriend for the first time. Her twin brother would rather go on the pull than pull crackers with the family, and their younger sister Willow is terrified of Christmas Day. There are big surprises under the tree, the bottom tagline for this book says. This definitely has some hard-hitting themes throughout it as well, so if you do feel like you need to, do check out the trigger warnings for this one. But ultimately, it definitely still retains the cozy family feel of Christmas and that kind of familiarity of going back home for Christmas. Okay, on to the Christmas mysteries. I have a couple of classic Christmas mysteries, and I just don't know if they're going to be my thing or not. So I've got Death Comes at Christmas by Gladys Mitchell. I tried to read this one last year and I just couldn't get into it properly. It's set in December, obviously, and it follows a woman who's left London behind for a relaxing visit to the Oxfordshire countryside. Then on Christmas Eve, a local solicitor is found dead by a river. Everyone believes that he suffered a heart attack, but Mrs. Bradley is suspicious and is soon investigating a series of disturbing clues. As the frost thaws and spring begins, the inimitable detective must work fast if she is to protect the people close to her from a resourceful killer. Now, I don't know why I wasn't getting on with this one, but maybe I'll try this as an audiobook because I still really like the sound of it. Although I feel like it starts at Christmas and then we transfer into spring, so I don't know how Christmassy it's going to be, but this is the first of my kind of cozy Christmas mysteries. The next one is a compilation of short stories. This is A Surprise for Christmas and Other Seasonal Mysteries, and this is edited by Martin Edwards. I can see again why I picked this one up, but I haven't yet read this one. A postman murdered while delivering cards on Christmas morning, a Christmas pine growing over a forgotten homicide, a Yuletide heist gone horribly wrong. When there's as much murder as magic in the air and the facts seem to point to the impossible, it's up to the detective's trained eye to unwrap the clues and neatly tie together an explanation, preferably with a bow on top. So this is multiple different authors. We have Julian Simmons, Marjorie Allingham, Anthony Gilbert, and Cyril Hare. It says they're perfect to be read by the fire on a cold winter's night. I wish I had a fireplace in my flat. It's not really going to work in a flat, but I wish I did. But this is a little compilation of cozy Christmas mysteries. This one is a British Library crime classic, as is this one, which is the final of the cozy Christmas mysteries. This is Mystery in White, which is by J. Jefferson of Fargian. I read this one in November, and I didn't love it. It follows a group of people who are stranded on a train in a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. They decide to leave the train and find a very isolated house where it becomes apparent to them that there has been a crime committed on the train, and a crime committed many years ago, and this is the unravelling of that story. It was really boring, but I'm still going to put it in here because, again, you might like it or you might have enjoyed it. The bookseller, when I was asking for cozy Christmas recs, said that they really liked this one. I just found it quite dull, and I felt like there wasn't any suspense, there wasn't any build up for the mystery. It wasn't for me, but it might be for you. I know I really sold it. I have 2 more mysteries, but they're not part of the classic mystery category, but they are still mysteries. So I have Death and Papa Noel by Ian Moore. This is a teeny weeny book. This is part of the series, however it is kind of a Christmas special for that series. I haven't read any of the other books in the series, but hopefully that doesn't hinder me with this one. The blurb for this one says, at his French B&B, Richard Ainsworth is preparing for his dream Christmas. Quiet, no guests, and his favourite films on the TV. Then his peace is shattered by the sudden arrival of a familiar face. Valerie de Orcay comes bearing an invitation to a Christmas-themed murder mystery, but is it really a game to everyone? I like a good murder mystery type of game thing, so I feel like this one's going to be really good fun. And finally, I feel like I made a slight faux pas with this one. So I recently ordered Murder on the Christmas Express by Alexandra Benedict. Now last year I read the Christmas Murder Game, which is not included in this video because I actually unhauled it because I didn't like it. I finished it, it was really repetitive and it didn't really feel like the writing was particularly developed, and I just felt like it was disappointing. It was a semi-okay mystery, but it didn't wow me. I was scrolling through Waterstones, I was trying to find some Christmas reads, and this one kept popping up. I looked at the blurb, I did not look into the author, and I ordered it because I thought it sounded really good fun. It's the same bloody author. The thing I didn't like about the other book was the writing style. It wasn't necessarily the story itself, it was the writing style. So hopefully over the course of a year that writing style has developed a little bit, but I'm kind of kicking myself. I know I can return this, but I kind of want to give it a go. The plot of it still sounds really cool. The tagline on the front says 18 passengers, 7 stops, 1 killer. All aboard for murder on the Christmas Express. In the early hours of Christmas Eve, the sleeper train to the Highlands is derailed, along with the festive plans of its travellers. But that is only the beginning of their problems. When the body of one of the passengers is discovered in the locked room of her cabin, all the evidence points to murder. With the train stuck in the snow in the middle of nowhere, it's up to former Met detective Roz Parker to find the killer before they strike again. But as the countdown to Christmas and their rescue begins, Roz discovers that there are many secrets on board this train and many passengers with motives for murder. As a killer stalks the carriages, who will be the next to die? And will any of them get home for Christmas alive? It sounds good! But I don't know, now I've realised it's the same author. It kind of sounds like what I hoped this would be. So, I don't know, I'm gonna give it a go still. It feels like it should be good, but we'll see how well the delivery goes. Okay, on to the final 4 books for the video. These are more wintry themed, but I'm looking at them now and realising that 2 are also still Christmassy themed, so just pretend it works. The first is A Snowfall of Silver by Laura Wood. I love Laura Wood's writing so much. She writes historical fiction, usually romance based, and it's just so lovely. There's such a nice quaintness about her writing style, and this one is no exception. It's absolutely brilliant and so beautiful. In this book we're following Freya. It's set in the 30s, 1931, and she runs away from her home in Cornwall to try and become an actress. She joins a touring theatre company and finally feels like she belongs. This is very much set across the winter period. It starts in the autumn but then it transitions into winter. Laura Wood's writing just makes you feel like you are there with them, and it's so cozy and it just feels like the perfect book for this time of year. Then I've got a book that you're probably all aware of already, so I do apologise, but it is wintry. It's A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. This is a novella at the end of the ACOTAR trilogy. I know that we have had kind of other books coming in as well, but this is like 3.5, I think it's considered. This follows our favourite High Lady and High Lord as they celebrate winter solstice in Valaris with their friends and family. It's just cute and it's fun. It's nothing extreme, it's nothing big epic level, but it's a nice little novella to accompany this series and it's very festive. Second to last, we have got Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Cusnier. This edition is so pretty. I think this is the WATERSTONES edition. I read this one in 2020. It came out last year, but I was lucky enough to be sent a very early ARC for this, and it was so stunning. This is the perfect read for December. I know I'm saying that about all these books. This is just on point. This is a Nutcracker retelling. We follow our main character who is a dancer, and she ends up going through a door portal type of thing to a fantasy world where she has to join the king's court as a dancer. She's kind of stuck in Everwood, which is this land she's been transported to, and she needs to find a way out and back to her family. But this place she has been transported to is so magical. The food is still staying with me today, reading this 2 years ago. The imagery is still there. This cover is the exact vibe the whole writing throughout this book gives. So beautiful, so stunning, and just everything you want from a book at this time of year. Very magical, very entrancing, and has a really great romance running through it as well. The final book is one that I haven't read yet, but I am very excited to read. I've been waiting a full year to read this one around the winter period. I'm not necessarily gonna say I'll read this in December, but it might be a January read for me. But this is The Winter Garden by Alexandra Bell. When reading the blurb for this really gives me Midnight in Everwood meets the Night Circus vibes. Welcome to the Winter Garden, open only at 13 o'clock. On the night her mother dies, 8-year-old Beatrice receives an invitation to the mysterious Winter Garden, a place of wonder and magic filled with all manner of strange and sublime flora and fauna. The garden is her solace every night for 7 days. But when the garden disappears and no one believes her story, Beatrice is left to wonder if it was truly real. 18 years later, on the eve of her wedding to a man her late father approved of, but she does not love, Beatrice makes the decision to throw off the expectations of Victorian English society and search for the garden. But when she and her closest friend Rosa receive invitations to compete to create spectacular pleasure gardens, with the prize being one life-changing wish, she realises she may be closer to finding it than she ever imagined. Now all she has to do is win. Doesn't that sound so good? Isn't it Night Circus-y? It's definitely giving me all those vibes. I have been told it's fantastic. This is very high up on my TBR for the winter season. Guys, I forgot 3 books because they're on a different shelf because they're classics, but I have 3 more books to add into the end of this video. I feel silly for forgetting something like A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens because this is like a staple Christmas book. This is a classic. It's set on Christmas Eve. It's a story of redemption. I loved it. I love the film Muppets Christmas Carol, top tier. It's a well-known story. You might well know a version of this story at least if you haven't read the book, but it's a really nice book as well and I would definitely advise giving it a go. Another beautiful edition of a book, this is the Penguin Book of Christmas Stories and this is edited by Jessica Harrison. It's a compilation of short stories. I know I already spoke about short stories and not being the biggest fan of short stories, however I do enjoy dipping in and out of these festive ones. There's lots of different types of stories, so there's definitely something for everyone here. And lastly, this chonker, which is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I love this edition. I don't know what edition this actually is. Illustrated edition by Anna Bond of Rifle Paper Co. I love this edition. This is just, it's so pretty. Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without any presents is a quote from Little Women. It is a really lovely story of the March sisters and their journey from childhood to adulthood, but it is partially set around Christmas and I do associate it with this time of year, even if it isn't always set around this time of year, so I wanted to add it in this video. Okay, I'm gonna let Past Beth take it back over. Okay, I've actually bought one more book since finishing this video, so I didn't forget to include this one. It's just a new book. It's a very teeny weeny little book. It's called Advent Street by Carol Ann Duffy. This is a poetry book. I don't know if it's multiple short poems or one really long one. I think it's one really long one possibly, but it's really cute. The cover has these little Advent doors on it and the poem is looking into the windows of each of these people on Advent Street. It's really cute and tiny. It's a good stocking filler little book, but I'm gonna definitely get to reading this one before Christmas, but I wanted to include it in this video. Okay, that is all the books I wanted to show you today. I feel like that was quite a few. I don't know how well I described them, but hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you've got a couple of winter or Christmas books to add to your TBR or your wish list. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any more recommendations to add to this, or if there's any that I said I haven't read that you think I should start with, let me know. You can also subscribe to see more of my face on your feed. Link down below, you will find my Patreon where I do lots of extra content and also my online shop. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling, stay positive, and have a Merry Christmas.